good, man.
Art-wise, it started with doing graffiti with friends. Just other like-minded young men, I guess.
Rich and I met each other probably when we were 14 years old, 8th or 9th grade. We both grew up in Bethesda, Maryland, suburb right outside of Washington, D.C. Going to hardcore and punk rock shows, getting into trouble, writing graffiti, doing all the things we weren't supposed to be doing, so we just sort of clicked right away.
But good for him.
That stuff is the fun part. I mean, again, the thing it has in common is just, making things. Like, I've always liked to make things. But that was about just sort of the adventure of it.
Rich wrote ever, and as talented of a fine artist as he is, he was just as good or better at graffiti. He bombed the streets, he did pieces, he did freight trains, he went in the subway yards. He did a little bit of everything. Actually, I should take that back. Rich did a lot of everything.
My buddy Roger Gastman had done a book sort of on the history of Washington, D.C. graffiti, so he had an art show to launch the book, and that was really the first time that I had shown any kind of artwork.
It was a lot of artists from D.C. showcasing their work, and Rich put in a bunch of paintings that had nothing to do with graffiti, and I think it surprised a lot of people. He had a few nice big paintings, then he had a few smaller ones, the 5x7 drawings. And people freaked out. Everyone loved it. All the graffiti writers that were there loved it, regular people loved it, and he sold a decent amount of it. That show, I think, helped place him into a gallery setting and showed him that people like his work.
Those are important moments no matter what you do, or those first introductions into people seeing it and getting it out there. And it's real exciting. It's like, it's hard to believe that anybody wants to look at that shit, Like, like it's shocking. It's still shocking, but I don't know, I think it's a pretty amazing experience. It's never right. Like, I can't get it right. If I start to get it right, I'll look for something else to get totally wrong. The stuff that I make, I think it fails on more levels than it succeeds on, but, trying. I don't think I'd feel like I was really contributing anything if I was just doing the same painting every time. I push myself, I think, to try to at least move it along in some way each time. This and pretty much everything in here is for a show coming up at New Image. That's all I'm working on right now. I went to Catholic school when I was younger, so I was like an altar boy, and I had to paint these sets for Macbeth or some shit like that, but I hadn't thought about it in years, but it sort of, it started me thinking on that sort of feeling when you walk into, a stage production or something like that, and there isn't anything going on. Just sort of that anticipation of what could happen and that sort of thing. Building out elaborate sets for things that will never exist. But I don't know. Mostly it's, you just get the idea for something and you gotta sort of see it through.
We have a Richard Colman show, and Richard's been here for a few days. He'll be here for about a week, installing and doing an installation. And this body of work, they remind me of something Shakespearean or some sort of play in someone's mind, like it's within your head. It's very psychological.
I'm cutting these tiles down, which are going to be kind of a reformatted mosaic almost, seems like, with an old mural that's going to be put up on the walls. If it's old, in the sense that it doesn't excite Rich anymore, then it's good to give it new life. For me, it's a little anxious cutting something up that I know he spent so many hours on.
That's what I like, man. It's not stuff that I don't like anymore, it's stuff that I like.
It's weird, they take a lot of work to make, but then there's something sort of liberating just using them for something like this. I don't really feel the need to, just hang on to it to hang on to it.
I feel like he's what most artists should be doing. They've got a theme that they run with that is evolving, but then it's not just evolving conceptually, it's evolving as they make the work. It's always a thrill because he's calling his own shots and, it's like, I'm gonna try this. If it works, it doesn't work, doesn't matter, I tried it. This time tomorrow, it'll be just about over. There'll be like a 5-minute window where it's like, all right, that shit looks good.
Want your money, I want your fame, I want your diamonds and your pearls and your family fucking name. It's so funny, we're just the same. You're just a little better at cheating in this game called life.
Part of being a really talented artist is to translate into other mediums. There's a great expression to his work, but yet those figures are from Raiders of the Lost Ark. That's the Dadaism of it, is that he's using this movie character, like, why? It's something in his psychology, or it pulls in a pop element, but yet to me it also resembles Daumier and a commentary on people, or The Scream by Monk. It just has a lot of kind of strange emotion.
The idea of special effects kind of being high-end art, they come and go. It's like you see it in a movie for 5 seconds, but you have people spending months to make that one effect happen. Taking this really low-end idea and making it into porcelain. Rich is one of those guys where, you see him at openings for an hour or two, and that's about it, because he's in his hole painting, that guy's got more work ethic than most people I know.
He's one of the few painters that I feel like he really does love to paint and is painting all the time. It's always kind of going on and evolving, and these are little snapshots of parts of the journey in a way.
If the paintings were always just a variation of the same thing, I can kind of gauge how things are going to go a little easier, and But when it's, I try to throw things in there that I'm a little unsure about, or try to take some chances or something like that, because there's always that, that nervousness, or sort of like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen with this. I think I'm going to do some white and silver ones, and mix up the palette a little bit. Maybe it goes back to the graffiti stuff and all that. I always liked the silver and black combination. Something different to work on. I just sort of like the strong color combination. Next, I guess big one is the show at Guerrero. So there's a few sort of ideas I've been kicking around, but we'll see as it gets closer what starts coming together. Yeah, the space is gorgeous, and he's fun to work with, because he's real into it. He's definitely helped me with some stuff more than once, whether it's for his gallery or not.
Well, right now we're in the midst of going and picking up Richard's large piece that he just created for the show Something Better. This one is 10 feet by 16 feet, and he usually tries to incorporate one of these large pieces in each show.
I'm doing some stuff like this that sort of brings back like these older, more organic elements. But all that stuff they were primarily ink wash drawings. And so now it's marrying the two. It's kind of nostalgic doing this sort of work again. The first solo show I did, it was all these organic patterns, these big 8-foot ink drawings that were just all these crazy monochromatic landscapes. A lot of it is just making decisions. It's gonna be what it's gonna be. It's like you just have to act on it. But what it's gonna be, I have some ideas, but I don't really know just yet. I usually try to adapt to the mess I find myself in.
He has like preliminary sketch on a piece of paper that he'll put together, and then he'll go ahead and look at that image, study it, and then transfer it over and scale it to the large format, whether it be on the floor or the side panels of the installation, and hand draw it. Masking off has also been a major portion of outside of the drawing, so that's a whole nother step. And then going on to spraying and then taking off and unmasking everything, which has been a pretty involved process. So probably like a total of 3 or 4 days involvement on each panel that he's painting in that system. So yeah, we're actually here. We're here to go pick up his large piece, so let's do this.
His new image show 6 months ago, he's already like integrated new elements that I didn't see in that show. And I know a lot of that is due to the fact that Richard works really hard, and that as soon as that show came down, he came back to San Francisco and just started, he already had this show kind of in his mind how he wanted it, and just kind of went right to it. He creates a stage, and his characters seem to kind of put on a show for you, piece by piece. Like it's almost like he's written a play for each show. These characters are doing scenes throughout an entire show. And I kind of feel like more and more as he's kind of gotten older and as he's progressed, like I feel like it's more and more the kind of conceptual play that he's putting on for the show.
Richard and I had talked about possibly, me playing at his opening, but then we had some problems with the cops and stuff and the neighbors. So we actually weren't gonna do any music. And then Andres texted me. He's like, "You want to play?" And I'm like, "What happened to the cops?" And he's like, "Fuck it, we got a stage." It's cool. I mean, especially for me. I moved to San Francisco from South Carolina. I mean, who would have thought I'd be hanging out with people that make really inspiring art that I used to just enjoy through magazines and very indirectly. So I think when you're an artist, you want to be equal to the guys that are inspiring you and the girls, and it's definitely a challenge to keep up, and I think it pushes us all.